Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanMuscle.com. Now today we're taking a closer look at installing and dyno testing the Bama PMAS or PMAS Velocity Cold Air Intake with the Bama X4 Tuner Combo Kit, available for the 15 to 17 GT. Now before we get into the nitty-gritty details of everything, I know what you guys are thinking, what's the dyno numbers? So what do you say we take a look at the graph? Now we strapped down our 2015 to the dyno and established our baseline run with our factory intake, factory tune, and just 93 octane in the tank. Ran it in 5th gear, walked away with 382 horsepower and 359 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheels. We then, of course, installed our Bama PMAS Velocity Cold Air Intake along with the Bama 93 octane tune, ran it again under the same conditions in 5th, and walked away with 415 horsepower, 387 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheels, good for peak gains of 33 horsepower and 28 torque. Now those alone are respectable gains, but it's really the curve gains that are going to make the big difference on the road and things you'll actually feel. Now the curve gains came in a little bit at the higher end, around 5,400 RPMs, coming away with 43 horsepower and 42 foot-pounds of torque at the rear. Now, the horsepower and torque under the curve is actually surpassing expectations with the cold air intake and tune combo, so I'm really impressed. We're even walking away with really good torque at the low end. Around 4,000 RPMs, we have 387 foot-pounds of torque at the tire. Now, that is something you definitely feel on a daily basis to really change the driving experience. So overall, I like this combo. Now, taking a look at the details of this particular kit. Now, this PMAS Velocity Cold Air Intake is actually very unique. It's got an absolutely giant tubing, good for a 120 millimeter MAF housing. Now, because of that, you're pulling in a lot more cold air than your average cold air intake, which is gonna mean it does require a tune, which is why this combo kit is just gonna be super convenient. In addition to that, you're also picking up an S&B oiled filter. Now, S&B makes the filter for this, and again, it's just a giant filter. This is much larger than a lot of the other conical options in the category. It is a double layer cotton gauze. We'll break that down a little bit later on, taking a closer look at it, comparing it to the factory paper element. With that cold air intake, you want to pair it with a tune, and this one comes with the X4 device from SCT with the Bama 87 and 93 octane tunes. Now, the 93 octane tune is going to be a great way to absolutely maximize all of the customizations you have on your vehicle already, custom to your vehicle. In addition to your cold air intake, if you have any other mods, it'll maximize those as well, so a custom tune is definitely the way to go to get the most out of your vehicle. In addition to the tune, you're also getting a number of other really useful features with the X4 device itself, including being enrolled in the Bama Free Tunes for Life program. What that basically means is anytime that you add or subtract any mods from your vehicle, you can get a free tune rewritten for your vehicle to get the update. Now, that's always useful for guys whose build list is never ending. This whole kit is going to come in right around $700, making it a little bit more affordable than some of the other combo kits in the category, which is something I really like. It's got a huge result, as you saw from our dyno graph, but it also has a very unique build, and it has a very useful feature in the device. Now, the whole kit's going to be installed with 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter, which means anybody can tackle it in the driveway at home in about an hour, maybe 2 from start to finish, depending on your experience. Very simple hand tools required, and I'm going to take you through every step of the process, starting with our intake, making our way to our device. Now, the tools used in this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, extension, 7, 8, 10, and 17 millimeter deep sockets, a T15 Torx bit, 11 millimeter wrench, and a Phillips head screwdriver. All right, guys, first step here is to remove the battery cover, so we're just going to pop that off. If you guys have some of those push pin clips, there's an open hole here and here. Ours are already removed, so I'm just going to set this out of the way. Grab your 17 millimeter deep socket and your impact gun and remove the 2 bolts on each side, holding on your strut tower brace. Starting on your passenger side, we're going to pop the strut tower brace off. Now, as you can see, the positive terminal wire is in the way, so you want to make sure you're lifting up and away from that. Now we can take our engine cover off. Now for this, you're really just lifting straight up. There are 4 little pins holding it in. You just pop them out of place, set that aside. Next up, we're going to disconnect our mass airflow sensor. You want to go underneath, pull back the red locking tab, pinch, and disconnect. Here's that red locking tab. Really just it'll push down, you can pull back on it, and it'll unlock. Next up, we have 4 PCV hoses that are connected to the air intake tubing. We're just going to pull back and disconnect all of them, Some of them may have a little locking tab, like this one here has a little gray tab you pull back to disconnect. And finally, our sound tube. Grab your 7mm socket and you're gonna loosen up the clamp holding your tubing to the throttle body. Now there might be a couple hoses in the way, so just push them out of the way and loosen that up. All right, now you can grab a 10mm socket and we're gonna remove the bolt holding on your factory heat shield to the inner wheel well. This is one of those situations you just wanna be careful you don't drop it in the engine bay. All right, at this point you can pull back on the tubing to disconnect it from the throttle body and lift straight up, making sure that your MAF harness is out of the way, and pull it out of the vehicle. We are gonna have to delete our sound tube. There is no hookup for that on your new intake. Now what you guys might wanna do is delete it all the way back to the firewall, in which case there's a plug included in the kit. So you can follow this tubing all the way back to the firewall behind the engine. You're gonna unplug it there and plug that hole. Now, because it's gonna be very difficult for us to show you, I'm gonna disconnect it from right here where we have a hose clamp. I'm just gonna loosen that up and pull this hose off. And we have a plug that's gonna fit right in there. We can plug it here, just because it's gonna be hard for you guys to see the alternative. So it's personal preference. If you have a plug that fits here, you can grab one and do this, or you can use the one in the kit that goes all the way back to the firewall. Next up, we have to relocate our coolant reservoir. Because the intake tubing going to the throttle body is so big, it's gonna come in contact with this, so we need to shuffle it over about 2 inches. There's a relocation bracket included in the kit. We're gonna remove these two 10mm bolts, and we're gonna bolt the reservoir to this bracket on these 2 holes, this one here and this one here, the 2 on the left. The other 2 are gonna bolt down to the factory location. We're literally just shuffling this over a little bit. So first up, grab your 10mm socket and remove those 2 bolts. All right, next up, grab this bracket. We're gonna bolt the reservoir to that first. Slide the hex screws or hex bolts included in the kit on the left one, along with a flat washer and the nylon lock nut. Just for right now, we're gonna tighten this down by hand. We're just gonna screw it on, just to hold it in place. Do the same thing for the other one. All right, grab a 3/16 hex socket or Allen key, and you're gonna tighten these bolts down using an 11mm wrench to hold the nut on the underside. All right, now grab the entire reservoir, and we're gonna shuffle that over and use the factory 10mm bolts to tighten it back down to the stock location using those additional holes on that bracket. Well, we finally got our factory intake off of our 15 GT behind me, sitting next to the PMAS Velocity cold air intake. Now, I want to take you through some of the similarities, but mainly the differences between the 2 kits, starting with our filter. And as you can see, it is a night and day difference. I opened up our factory heat shield to reveal the flat paper element filter from the factory, which is a dry filter. It's not washable, it's not reusable. It limits how much cold air is coming in, doesn't do the best job as far as filtration. It's fine for the factory option, but when you're looking to upgrade and get more airflow, it's not really what you want. This kit uses an S&B oiled filter, which is just absolutely massive. This is a lot bigger than most, if not all, of the intake filters in the category, and it has a velocity stack in the opening at the top here to make sure it's maximizing the cold air capabilities coming in, while also filtering out all of the unwanted particles. This uses a double layer cotton gauze media smushed between 2 epoxy coated wire screens, which is gonna help to filter out very small microns worth of particles. So again, a night and day difference. Now, because it's washable and reusable, when it comes time for routine maintenance, pop it out, wash it, re-oil it, throw it right back in. No need to break out the wallet to buy a new filter. In addition to that, the tubing here, again, absolutely massive. This is definitely one of the key instruments in the kit. Now this uses a 120 millimeter opening that offers no mass airflow resolution loss. Now that's a really big thing here. Now this is why it requires a tune. Whenever you have the bigger mouths like this that are pulling in a lot more cold air, you have to tune the vehicle to it. That's just how it's gonna work, or it's gonna run a little rough. The heat shield here, I do really like. It is a molded plastic, so it's gonna do pretty good with dissipating heat. The weather stripping around the edges here are to seal in under the hood to make sure it's blocking out excess engine bay heat. I will say when comparing this heat shield to the factory one, I do like the way the factory one uses an air duct that goes into your front upper grille. It really sucks in the cold air from the front of the vehicle. That's not something you're getting with this Velocity kit here, but there are other options in the category that do offer this if that's really what you're looking for. But I'd say because this has such a unique feature with the giant 120 millimeter tubing, I don't think it's really gonna be that big of a problem. Now, one thing we do have to do is transfer over our factory MAF sensor. So we're gonna unbolt it from the factory tubing. That's actually gonna install on the side here for our filter. So that's our next step. Now, to get this MAF sensor out, you're gonna need a T15 Torx bit. I'm gonna go right by hand and just remove these two screws. Typically, they're just hand tight because they don't wanna over strip them out in the housing here. So just pop these out. If you need a ratchet, you can grab one, of course. Once you get those two screws out of the way, pull the MAF sensor out, set it aside, and now we can get rid of our stock component. Grab the factory tubing with that built-in velocity stack. We have the MAF housing. You're gonna slot that into place, lining up those holes. It really only goes in one way. Grab the factory screws. All right, now we can tighten these down. And get it nice and snug. You don't wanna strip these out. Ours was already installed, but I want to take you through this quick process. Now, if you grab your heat shield and your weather stripping is not already installed, right out of the box, you can just snap that along the edges here to get that in place, right around this bend and along the top. Now, on the other end, you'll see one open bracket here and another one here. This one has a hex screw through it and a grommet. Now, that grommet comes right off pretty easily. There's an open hole in the inside of your wheel well in the 15 GT or your S550 that this is gonna go into just to hold it in place. So grab that hex screw, put it through that hole. You can really just thread this in all the way down. Simply just like that. Once that's nice and hand tight, we're ready to go in the vehicle. All right, so next step, we're gonna grab our heat shield and drop it into place. Now, if you remember, we have this little grommet here on the right. That's gonna go right into this hole on the inside. And the top is gonna line up to that factory location for the 10 millimeter. Now we can grab that 10 millimeter and put it into place there. Put that right back into the factory location. I'm gonna tighten it down by hand. Grab your 10 socket and tighten it down. All right, now we're gonna install our tubing onto our throttle body. Now on the bottom, as you know, you have this hose connected that's gonna go here. What I like to do to make our life easier, instead of trying to go underneath, especially with my cast, I'm gonna connect that hose first. So this hose here is gonna connect to our bottom. And now we can connect it to our throttle body. All right, with that there, now you can see why we had to relocate that coolant, because it would come in contact and even prevent the tubing from attaching. So now we have this little gap here that we wouldn't have had before. Grab an 8 millimeter socket and tighten down the clamp on the throttle body. Next up, we're gonna grab our filter and set it into place here on our silicone coupler. All right, once you get it in place, you wanna make sure your MAF sensor is gonna be able to fit there. Grab your harness and feed it underneath and then plug it in. Once you hear that click, drop the red locking tab. Now we can rotate our clamp into position and tighten it down. All right, now we can connect our hoses. Connect your smaller hose to the smaller fitting down here. Hear that click, and then finally the other PCV hose will go up top. All right, now we can throw our engine cover back on and our strut tower brace. Now for the engine cover, I'm just gonna line up the holes and just put pressure on it and it'll snap right in place. Strut tower brace, start on your passenger side and feed it underneath of the positive terminal harness, right onto the studs, lining up the driver's side onto the studs as well. All right, throw your nuts back on and we'll tighten them down. Repeat for the other side. Now you can take your harness included in your X4 kit, plug it into the OBD2 port underneath the driver's side dashboard. There you go. Now you can plug the other end into the top of your X4. Now from the main menu, I want to jump right into tuning our vehicle. So click Program Vehicle, continue on the street notice. Make sure you press the on key, turn your ignition on, but you don't want to start your engine. Press continue. And you want to select the appropriate tune. Now, of course, we're going to focus on the 93 octane option here. So we're going to select our 93 race for the PMAS or PMAS tune. Now, you may have an 87 octane as well, so you just want to select the one you want to go with. From here, you can make any changes you want to make to the tune itself. Global spark, axle ratio, tire revs per mile, speed limiter, rev limiter, so on and so forth. There's a number of different options you can change. We're just going to hit approve and keep everything the same. Continue to confirm your options. Turn the ignition on. It'll save your stock file to your X4 device, so if you ever want to revert back to stock, you can do so right on the device, and then it'll go right into tuning. All right, at this point, once it loads finally 0 to 100, it tells you to turn the key off. Once you do so, just wait a moment. It'll update, turn the key on. Again, not starting the engine. All right, once it's done clearing the DTC codes, you just want to hit done on complete. It'll take you back to the main menu and you're good to go. Now I want to take you guys through some of the X4 features other than actually tuning your vehicle. Now from the main menu, you go straight down, you hit gauges and data log. If you select that, turn your key on, hit continue. You're going to be able to monitor live engine vitals on the fly at any time within arm's reach. You just want to make sure you're selecting the proper configuration. Since we're in a 2015 GT, it's a Ford gas 08 and newer vehicle, so we're going to select that. You just need to start with the proper configuration. Once it processes, load 0 to 100, it'll bring you to the gauges screen. Now, right off the bat, we have two gauges, top and bottom, in portrait mode. We have control module voltage and coolant temp. Now, you can monitor up to 8 different vitals at once. If you want to track more, hit the right arrow, go down to select gauge layout, and you can select different ways to monitor. So if we want to do 3, we can select this one. It gives you a larger one up top and 2 smaller ones. Now we have control module voltage, coolant temp, and intake air temp. That's really useful, but say you want to switch out control module voltage for something else. You select it, select item. Let's change it. Let's change it to RPMs. Hit approve, and that'll load up. Now, of course, our vehicle's off, so it's reading 0 at the moment, but it would load in live time. You can data log, start recording data log. As you drive, Dyno, what have you, you can send your data log back to Bama to get revisions if you want to make updates, and you can stop data log here at the top and it'll take you right back to the main menu. So that's really useful. Going down to vehicle functions, select that. You can read and clear DTC or diagnostic trouble codes. So check engine light comes on, you don't need a separate code reader, you just plug in your X4 device to the OBD2 and you can read the code here and get a full description, and you can clear it as well. Now special functions most people won't touch, cam relearn, cam reset, things like that. So we're going to exit. Vehicle info is another one. If you select that with your key on, it'll give you information like your VIN number, your ECU strategy code, things that you would need to request a new tune. Device info, device name, part number, serial number, firmware version, software version. Now the serial number is the most important, just in case you want to request a new tune as well. You can have that information there. And you can see if you've got the latest firmware and software versions. It'll also let you know how many unlocks you have left. If you want to unlock it from this vehicle and marry it to a different vehicle, you only have 5 of those available. And you can go back, device settings, check for updates and Wi-Fi. Now, if you're connected to Wi-Fi, you can check for updates wirelessly. You don't need to plug it into a laptop or computer to make any updates. And SCT does provide updates relatively often for these devices, so you may need one every once in a while. So having Wi-Fi capabilities here is definitely going to come in handy. Now, a lot of the other settings are pretty standard. Brightness you can adjust, orientation if you want to change it to landscape, which is really useful, especially on the back here. You have mount holes. So if you want to grab a windshield mount or something that'll work with your device, you can mount it right there and orient it how you want. Theme, you can change that theme. If you want to go from red, you can go to blue. Just changes things up, make it a little more personal. There's also a dark theme to change it to black and blue. Lights, audio, startup function, you can actually set it to boot up when you plug it in. It'll go right to the gauges screen if you want. So that's really useful if you just want to keep it plugged in all the time and have it on a windshield mount. As soon as you start your car, it boots up, goes right to the gauges. I like that feature, something a lot of guys might find useful. Finally, you can do a factory reset. Hit exit, back at the main menu, and that's your X4. Well guys, that's going to wrap up my review and install as well as dyno test for the Bama PMAS Velocity Cold Air Intake with the Bama X4 tuner combo, available for the 15 to 17 GT. If you want to pick this up for yourself, you can do so right here at AmericanMuscle.com.